Hey, this is Ben Solomon, and welcome to this episode of the Techno Leadership Show. In this episode, I'm going to share the kind of processes and mental processes that I use to follow on deciding what kinds of roles to apply for in the technology space. It's something that was a very crude framework for myself when I started years ago. But since then, more I've learned about various aspects of how we get fulfillment, how we enjoy certain things, how we build passion, all of those sort of areas. These frameworks come together much better. There's more clarity around it. And I'll start from the crude version so that, like if you're thinking, hey, I'm not going to have all this experience or all this information to be able to make better choices right now, you can at least start with the crude version, and then as you take steps forward, pretty much in some sense, the next step becomes a bit more visible. So let's start with that. Where did I start? For me, I ended up doing a bachelor's degree in electronics and communication engineering, mainly because my parents didn't, want me to go down the path that I was thinking of going, which was more in the health sort of area. They were workers in the health space, and they'd gone through a lot of difficulties in their life, and they didn't believe that my personality type was best suited for it. And probably in some sense, now knowing what I know, they've saved me probably from some heartache in that area. I still love health. I still love medicine, and read a lot of research. I read a lot of magazines, articles, I take courses, try to keep myself up to date on what's going on in that area, but I'm not a doctor, so that's that. But yeah, started off doing a bachelor's degree in electronics and communication engineering. Didn't like it, even though I like electronics, like hobby electronics and other stuff I actually enjoy. Or enjoyed back then, and even now I do have an interest in it, and I still am thinking in the future that I would look at building some IoT stuff for my new house and all that sort of thing. But the core engineering stuff that was in electronics, I didn't enjoy. Like the first 3.5 years, I was just grinding through it, going, why am I doing this? In the final year, I think the final year, in the first semester, I had some subjects that are related to like telecommunications, communications, and networking. And that kind of made me interested, going, maybe, like even though I had a lot of interest in IT and computers and things like that, I never wanted to get into IT. I didn't want to do it as a profession. I loved gaming back then, and I loved building computers. I loved, being at the leading edge, bleeding edge even, of home PC computing and things like that. But never really wanted it to become a job. But through this process of going through my engineering degree and finding that, I had some interest in communications and networking, made me go, yeah, maybe I'll consider it. And then I started working part-time in a little internet cafe, doing the networking and all that, and learning more about networking and systems and all of that from the owner of the business, who also had a training company as part of that whole business. And so from there, he kind of said, hey, look, you have interest in this area, and you're kind of, pretty good at this thing. Why don't you do MCSE and a CCNA? And I was like, I don't know, should I really do it, sort of thing? And he said, look, I'll teach you at, lower rates because you're working here, and help you with all the processes, and then all you have to do is, pay me a small amount for the education, not as much as just pure clients would have. And then I did the certification, and I was like, okay, yeah, fair enough, maybe I can go down this path. But while I was doing that certification and learning and working part-time there, I finished my degree, And then I started working for a company that was an outsourced partner for one of the world's biggest computer services company, and I was supporting clients of theirs. And so I was like, oh yeah, maybe I could do this, but I really don't like being on the phone, like in a call center style thing. I preferred the part-time job I was doing, where I was actually working directly with people, directly in an organization, where, yeah, it just meant that I could control some of the interaction, expectation management, and all of that, rather than being on a phone, which is a lot harder to work with. And back then, the remote control technologies to be able to help clients remotely wasn't as good as well. This was in the mid 2000s. From there on, I moved to Australia to do a master's degree, and because I had started moving down this IT and technology sort of thing, I decided I'll do like a master's degree in management of information systems. So basically going down the path of being able to manage teams and hopefully go into leadership of some sort, and then get into general management. That is the long-term sort of thing that came into my head. So I came to Australia, did that master's degree, got an opportunity to start working as a contractor, subcontractor for a guy from church, who kind of invited me and said, hey, look, I just want to talk to you. And then we spoke, figured out that, I had enough skills to be able to contribute. So he got me the role as a subcontractor working under him, and mentored me, coached me, helped me, upskill again. Like, I had all this knowledge, and then convert that into actual experience in the field. And then from there, I pretty much took over a lot of the stuff that he was doing, where all he had to do was the strategic stuff. And I would work with him to kind of come up with systems design, network designs, redid a few networks and few systems and system stacks. All of that built up knowledge and everything. And in the beginning, when I started, I had to fumble my way through, because I didn't know anything about strengths and all the psychometrics, and none of that I knew back then. I wish I did a little bit more. I wish I had guidance in like a career counseling or something, which I think in Australia most schools have some form of career counseling in year 11 and year 12. And I believe, from what I've heard in the US and UK and other New Zealand and all that, they've got such good facilities to sort of get some career counseling and coaching in that stage in their life, so that you can sort of make better choices than what I was able to do. So at that point, like, I applied for the role with that outsourced partner in India, and even before that, the computer technology and internet cafe place, because it was near my house, and I was like, I could do this. It was more the thing of, I could do this. I don't need to learn anything more. I can just go in as I know, and I can start working. And I didn't expect too much in salary, because I was still a student at that stage doing it part-time. So I was like, look, I'll come and work for you. You don't have to pay me as much as you'd have to pay a full-time employee. I'll make sure all these things are done. I have, experience in doing this. And so, it was a good trade in that sort of sense. Got the opportunity to work hands-on, which is fantastic, in an organization rather than all the stuff that I've done at home. And then, the outsource partner, again, being able to see how a big organization, like thousands of employees supporting hundreds of thousands of customers throughout the US and some in other parts of the world, from that office, gave me an understanding of how a bigger business runs, how the team leaders work. And I was blessed to have some really good team leaders who were happy to support me in the moves that I wanted to make. And I was thinking, I would go down the path of becoming a trainer there, in language as well as in tech, because they both were pretty strong suits of mine compared to a lot of the people in India at that stage. But the opportunity to come to Australia happened. I came to Australia, and again, the role that I've applied for was, I applied for a lot of junior level roles at that stage, thinking, I've already got about 3 something years experience in India doing this in businesses and supporting clients of a renowned, worldwide known company, I should be able to easily get a job. But no, initially it was really hard. And then this opportunity came up through this contractor who was one of the elders at church and invited me for the interview, and we went that way. So all of that was very crude. I kind of knew I wanted to go down the systems and networks sort of area, and I had done the MCSEs and CCNA and all that with that in mind after, some clues that arose from my engineering. So it was just following those little clues that came up of, I actually have interest in that area, I've got interest in this area, and looks like there's a commercial need for that skill. And back then, system admins and network admins were pretty highly paid compared to today. Today it's become, the pay rate's a lot lower than back then, possibly because of how the dynamics have changed. But that was, kind of the initial starting point for my career coming through there. But as I matured in there, built up more skills, and again working in the environments, learning more stuff on the side, I did a lot of courses. I spent thousands of dollars of my own money to learn so that I could figure out what really did I want to do. And as my CCNA was coming for renewal, I thought I'll do the CCNP so that I can upgrade and move up, because that automatically renewed your CCNA. And at that point, when I went for the courses for the CCNP, I just went, no, this is not where I want to go. I thought that was where I wanted to go, but being in that class and seeing the amount of detail, and at that stage I didn't even recognize this, because again, this was before 2010 and I still hadn't done psychometrics or anything of that sort. I had gone, I can't do this. Because I paid the money for it, I went through the course, got some knowledge out of it. Look, not going to deny it, but I knew that path is shut. I'm not going to go down the networking and network engineering sort of role, and started to focus even more on the systems side of things. So when I started focusing more on the system side of things, I put even more effort into virtualizations of VMware, Hyper-V, and building up my own Hyper-V network at home, and all of those sort of things to build my own skills. Started doing courses in those areas, but then because in my day-to-day work I was using that a lot more, started doing that, and then started, again, that led to me deciding, okay, I have an interest in this area, I have strengths in that area, I've got experience in this area, and I will keep applying for the next level roles in that area. And so I went up. Around 2010, 2011 is when I first started really recognizing, I actually started stepping back and thinking, why even though I had interest in networking, why did I feel so out of sorts when I went down that path? I felt like a fish out of water. What was the reason behind it? So when I started thinking about my own thinking processes and all that, that's when psychometrics and all that came up as a more open, obvious way to sort of figure out strengths, weaknesses, and all that. I had done psychometrics as part of recruitment for jobs before, but I never saw the results. They saw the results and they did whatever they did with it. So I consciously, about 2010, 2011-ish, started doing these sort of tests. Initially, I didn't understand a lot of the things because there's a lot of complexity in the psychometrics, and each system is a bit different. You have the MBTI 16 personalities style, you have DISC, you have Colby, which I found out about maybe 2014-ish, and then you have Enneagram, you have all these things. Each one has its own little nuance and quirks. So I did a few of the free ones, got my results, which again I've shared in season 1, my results, as well as how you can figure out, because I've spent now close to a decade in that world, immersed in understanding how each of that works. And even though I'm not like a certified coach of each of those areas, I have enough knowledge to be able to discern what is your strength, weakness, and things like that. So I've kind of shared my ideas around that in season 1 that you can use. And so then I started using my strengths, my weaknesses, all of that to figure out what my next step should be. So as I was looking into that, I'd gotten into like a system technical engineering sort of role, doing support again for multiple businesses in a managed service provider. And from there, because I had started really getting deep into my strengths, weaknesses, I knew that that path was not going to be my end game. I had to go more either down the management leadership side or more into sales and account management. So that then educated me into going, yep, I'll apply for account management role within the company so that I can move easily. But that transition took close to 18 months. I think it was like, it just took so long that I finally, decided, no, I don't have patience. And I was still waiting. And then this opportunity to become an IT technology manager came up. And I applied for it. The organization had a really good reputation as being on the forefront of technology use. And then I applied for the job, got called in for the interview, went for the interview, and spoke to the director of IT in that organization and found out that he was one of the visionary drivers for the organization, for the bigger department of education. There was an education institution, so he had played a consulting part in a visionary drive for making education a lot more accessible using technology. When I knew that, I knew like I had to have that job sort of thing. But look, as per the processes that I've mentioned in my how to prepare for interviews and stuff, I had already prepared. I had already done all that work and went there. I felt comfortable, and after doing the interview, I knew like, look, if I get this job, even though the commute's going to be a lot more, I'm taking it because this is it. And because I knew all my strengths, my weaknesses, and how this particular role would utilize a lot of my strengths to create value, I knew that that's the next step to take. And that helped me get into that role. And then from there, got into a director level role. So that's that. The thing you have to think about is, if you've gone through season 1, done your strengths and weakness analysis, you're far ahead of where I was when I started. I had to fumble, as I said, through almost a decade and a bit of chaos before I realized what my strengths were, weaknesses were, and started focusing more along the areas of where my strengths are. And I recognize the fact that if you want to become like a IT manager, an engineering manager, developer manager, team leader, whatever it might be in an area, you will have to get some of your technical skills right. But those roles don't depend as much on technology and technical skills as your ability to be able to connect with people, communicate, do all those sort of things, and lead people as well. So based on your understanding of your strengths, if your strengths are deep in details, and then your passion and your interest is the systems and coding or whatever your area of specialty is, then that's a good match. But if it's not, and you figure out that you're a big picture thinker, but you're stuck doing detail work on a day-to-day basis, and that's burning you out, you've got to find ways to build up some of those skills required to utilize your big picture thinking to get into like a leadership role, whether that's a team leader initially, and then growing up from there to becoming a development manager, team manager, whatever it might be, and then go up from there into architecture roles and product manager roles, whatever it might be. It's these things, understanding your strengths, weaknesses, your interests, your passion, and your values even, because that'll then help you align with what kind of organizations you want to work in, Because this thing is, like, you can be a technology manager in a big organization. If there's so much bureaucracy and so much red tape that you have to pass through, if you're a visionary big picture person, it's going to be a bit difficult because things are slow there and you've got to have patience to wait for that, and not a lot of your visionary ideas would get approved from the top. Whereas in a smaller organization, you may get paid a bit less, but you're connected directly to the top, to the CEO, the C-suite, and you can get more of the visionary stuff implemented in reality and do work that's more fulfilling to you. So you've got to figure that out, to figure out what is right for you. So once you've done all these things, you'll have an idea of what kind of roles suit your strengths, suit your core values, suit your interests, and then you can start focusing more on that, building the skills required if there's extra skills that's required, and start applying for that and going down that path. So hopefully that's helped you out and has given you some insights and perspective on how you can utilize these things to be able to refine your thought process and figure out exactly where you want to go. I wish you all the best in your career as tech professional, manager, and leader. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel so that you are notified of future videos. I wish you all the best and have a fantastic day. Talk to you soon.